Blake Monroe never imagined that the deepest betrayal of her life would come just 2 months after losing her husband of 42 years. Still drowning in grief, she accepted her son Ethan and daughter-in-law Vanessa's invitation to join a family vacation, believing it was their way of helping her heal. Wanting to contribute, she even sold one of the precious gifts her late husband had given her so she could help pay for the trip. For the first time since the funeral, she felt hopeful. She carefully packed her suitcase, tucked a framed photo of her husband inside, and believed she was finally going to feel like part of her family again. That hope shattered the moment they reached the airport. At the airline counter, Blake discovered there was no return ticket under her name. Confused, she approached Ethan, expecting it to be a simple mistake. Instead, Vanessa looked at her with complete indifference and calmly admitted they had only purchased a one-way ticket. She told Blake she could figure out her own way home by selling her phone or calling someone for help. Ethan stood silently beside his wife, refusing to defend his own mother or even meet her eyes. To make matters worse, they had already taken her suitcase with their luggage, leaving her standing alone with nothing but her purse and overwhelming humiliation. Without another word, they disappeared through airport security while Blake watched the people she loved most walk away as if she no longer mattered. For several minutes, she sat alone in the crowded terminal, struggling to process what had just happened. Memories of her husband filled her mind, along with the painful realization that the son she had raised no longer saw her as family. She refused to beg anyone for help. Hidden safely inside her purse was the business card of Jonathan Reed, an attorney and longtime friend of her late husband. Instead of chasing after Ethan, she called Jonathan and asked for an immediate appointment because she wanted to change her will. Using emergency cash she and her husband had secretly saved over the years, Blake took a taxi straight from the airport to the law office. There she calmly explained everything that had happened. Without anger or hesitation, she removed Ethan and Vanessa from every part of her estate. She left her home, farmland, savings, and investments to Elder Haven, a nonprofit organization dedicated to helping elderly people who had been abandoned or financially exploited by their own families. Jonathan also helped her secure every legal document, change emergency contacts, protect her finances, and ensure that no one from her family would ever control her affairs again. After finishing the paperwork, Blake returned home only long enough to collect the belongings that truly mattered. She packed her late husband's favorite chair, their wedding album, treasured family photographs, and a few personal keepsakes before quietly leaving the house forever. She moved into Willow Grove, a senior living community filled with warmth, kindness, and genuine friendship. There she discovered something she had almost forgotten existed: respect. Residents welcomed her every day, invited her to book clubs, painting classes, and shared meals where people genuinely cared whether she showed up. Slowly, Blake realized that family is not defined by blood, but by the people who choose to love and value you. 6 peaceful months later, Jonathan officially notified Ethan and Vanessa that they had been completely removed from Blake Estate. Panic immediately followed. Ethan flooded her phone with calls, emails, and desperate apologies. He admitted they never believed she would actually change her will and begged her to reconsider. He even asked if they could at least keep the family garden because the grandchildren loved it. Blake quietly read every word before closing the message. They were not sorry for abandoning her. They were sorry because they had lost their inheritance. Instead of replying, Blake turned off her phone and continued living the peaceful life she had built. The property they wanted would now be used to support elderly people who had experienced the same kind of betrayal she had survived. Surrounded by caring friends and meaningful purpose, she finally understood that choosing herself was not selfish. It was necessary. The people who abandoned her at the airport believed they had left behind a helpless old woman. Instead, they unknowingly gave her the courage to reclaim her dignity, protect her legacy, and build a new family that valued her for who she was rather than for what she owned. Blake lost her son that day, but she found herself, and in the end, that became the greatest gift of all.